So earlier this morning, we had ourselves Elliotte Friedman speak out on the 32 thoughts about the Detroit Red Wings, and this is expanding upon a conversation that we had yesterday. We made this video talking about Elliotte Friedman's Saturday headlines, where he had discussed the Red Wings and the Blues and what is going on with their trade situations. You can already tell from the title, from the thumbnail of that video and this video. Today we're talking about Vladimir Tarasenko one more time, because on today's 32 Thoughts episode, Friedman went out there and expanded even more on the Tarasenko trade conversation. So, as always, this show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description if you want to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel all in the process. But also linked in the description, of course, alongside the 32 Thoughts podcast link itself, will be an article on RedWingsInsider.com written and published by Jack Sutherland, because this article has all the quotes from Friedman on the podcast. So we had spoken about it yesterday. We could just dive right into the Friedman discussion, because he does bring up Tarasenko on the podcast. He says this: "It's just, if you look at how the Red Wings have gone, Tarasenko's sort of the one guy that's been the odd fit, and he has a no-trade clause. So, ultimately, he has control. But I think I was talking to some people who see the Red Wings a bit more than I do, and they weren't surprised to hear that, in the sense that as the team has gotten better, and some players are starting to play better, it has been a bit of a square peg in a round hole situation for Tarasenko. I gotta think that, Florida doesn't have a lot of flexibility or a lot to deal, and they don't have a lot of cap room, but they know the player. That was actually the first time I thought of it when I got off the air on Saturday. I bet, in particular, that Tarasenko would love to go back there too. But I just don't know where this is going to go out. I think it's safe to say there's something going on there. I think there's an understanding that this has been a harder fit than everyone expected, and I've been told by a couple different places to not be surprised if something happens. There are a lot of good vibes with the Wings, but not in this particular case." And as we had spoken about yesterday in multiple videos, two things can be true at the same time. Yes, the vibes are good in Detroit. The Red Wings are no longer looking to get into the playoff picture. They're in the playoff picture. They're smack dab in the wild card. A lot of guys are going out there and producing more. The team has developed insane results under Todd McLellan, and everybody's feeling good about this Wings team. Maybe the best people have felt about the team since, the early 2010s, something like that. But as Friedman said, just because the Wings are doing very well, it does not mean everyone in particular is doing well. Tarasenko did score in the Wings' loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning the other day, but aside from that, he hasn't necessarily had the best fit with the organization. He is on pace for one of the lowest point production rates in his career, pretty much, and just a few seasons ago he was an over point per game 82-point guy. Last year, split between the Sens and the Panthers, he had 55 points. He was also a point every 2.5 games in the playoffs. Pretty good numbers out of a guy that wasn't necessarily a top-line player for Florida last year when they won the Cup. Tarasenko, though, is a multi-time Stanley Cup champion. He is still a potent goal scorer. It just hasn't been the best fit in Detroit so far. And so, as we had talked about yesterday, there were some people going out there speculating, okay, maybe Florida is the main team that is willing to bring him back. Maybe they're able to get some salary off and get Tarasenko at $4.75 million, because his contract does go on till next year. He's not technically a rental. He'll be a rental if you did it next year. But for now, because the Wings have so much momentum and they have so much to look forward to, is a little bit of tinkering around the edges on this roster necessary at this point. Of course, we acknowledge the talent that Tarasenko brings, and the question still remains, do you want to give him that leeway? Do you want to say, hey, he's a veteran guy who has found ways to produce everywhere he has gone, let's just give him a little bit longer to maybe get adjusted to the system and maybe let Todd McLellan's influence allow him to play his best game? Or do you look at it and say, hey, if Florida's calling, they want to give us some guys back that can actually help us out, they want this player back, and we can benefit longer term from this, maybe we get a younger player because Tarasenko is 33 years old, then maybe there is a realistic chance that it happens, as per Elliotte Friedman's suggestion on 32 Thoughts. But it does kind of beg the question, imagine how well this team could perform if Tarasenko was playing his best hockey. You could say that about a lot of guys, honestly. I mean, Tarasenko's on the second line right now. Patty Kane split up from Alex DeBrincat. Kane playing with Rasmussen and Soderblom. Soderblom, to his credit, has been such a breath of fresh air in the NHL. But if everybody was playing their best, you could have a really strong lineup, especially with the emergence of Marco Kasper, Raymond and Larkin still doing their thing, DeBrincat finding his groove. If Tarasenko was able to do the same thing, then who knows what the upper capacity ceiling for this Red Wings team in the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs could look like. And I'm just saying that, tongue-in-cheek, because we know the Wings have a possibility of losing the playoff spot. It's not locked in by any means, but they are in that spot regardless. And if Tarasenko's in a spot where he would rather go to a team like Florida, where he's familiar with the system, he already won a Stanley Cup championship there, a lot of the same guys that were on the team last year are still there, a lot of the main guys. If Tarasenko is in a spot where he wants to maybe try to take his talents elsewhere, Florida seems to be one of the main frontrunners just by the discourse we have seen so far. If there are any other teams that you think Tarasenko would make a fit on, then hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Yesterday we had spoken about Brayden Schenn and the St. Louis Blues, and I was kind of thinking, do we want to do that link? Do we want to say Tarasenko back to St. Louis? Okay, probably not. That is maybe not going to happen, especially considering Tarasenko's spot in his career. If he wants to keep on cup chasing, then I don't really think St. Louis is the team to go out there and do that with, unless you're patient enough to wait for Holloway and Broberg to become the best versions of themselves. But we had seen it in the past with these teams, Tarasenko being very strategic with where he puts his talent. New York Rangers for the playoff run, then he signs in Ottawa because he wants to give himself an opportunity in a top six, and he's really good in Ottawa. He bolsters his stock. The Sens aren't really going to make the playoffs, so they trade him over to Florida because the Panthers were reportedly the only team that he would wave to, wins a cup. Then he signs in Detroit. Maybe it's a similar thing to what he had done with Ottawa last year. Maybe. Obviously, if you had told a Red Wings fan 10 years ago that Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko would be on the Detroit Red Wings in 2024, 2025, I'm pretty sure they would all freak out, but unfortunately, age does catch up with most players. Patrick Kane and his hips are not the same guy 10 years ago. Tarasenko, while he is still effective, hasn't had the best transition onto this Red Wings team just yet, so I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this Elliotte Friedman trade update for Vladimir Tarasenko? Do you think the Florida Panthers are a suitable destination here? Do you think they're the likely destination? If there's another team, or if you're a fan of another team that you think Tarasenko would be a good fit on, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? And what do you think the projectable trade package could look like? Again, he is not a rental. He's on for next year too, so what does the trade picture look like if you change the assets in that way? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.